You're listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast.
You're listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast. My name is Sean Wilkie, and along with my awesome co-host, we interview the innovators in this space every week. Ivan, please kick us off.
Hey, my name's Zach, and I'm excited to introduce repeat offender on the podcast, Dr. Andrew Ciccolini. Dr. Andrew is the co-founder of subscription-based veterinary relief platform Serenity Vet. He is former chief medical director at the National Mill Dog Rescue, a large nonprofit located in Colorado, and director of nonprofit initiatives at Galaxy Vet. That's where we met Andrew. His background includes serving in the USA Army, where he worked his way up from associate veterinarian to VP of operations. In addition to his doctorate in veterinary medicine, he has a master's degree in organizational leadership. Andrew, welcome to the show. Thank you for finding the time.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I think this is at least my third time on the show.
That's right. Thank you for dedicating the time and attracting all the listeners. Is Serenity Vets, what's new about it? Why did you want it?
Yeah, we've really totally changed how we operate. And instead of just being a marketplace for connecting clinics with veterinarians, we're now a relief management platform where veterinary clinics can subscribe to use our service and invite their own relief network onto the platform and simplify the management, scheduling, payment, tax tracking, and invoicing for their vets, and just pay a monthly fee instead of a 20% transaction fee like we used to charge. And it's really revolutionizing the game in the relief world.
That's really cool, Andrew. So if I understand it correctly, if I've got a couple of relief vets that I'm working with at my clinic, I can use your guys' platform for a flat fee and manage those doctors that I currently work with, as well as get access to a whole new audience of relief vets in my area.
That's correct. And really why we came to this conclusion to do this is we saw with working with a lot of clinics that they kind of were managing relief in a number of different places. So they kind of had their trusted network, 2-3 veterinarians that they use all the time. And their process was very manual. They would call, text, email to schedule these veterinarians. They were sitting around waiting for the vet to send an invoice, cutting checks to pay them. But then that wasn't covering all their needs. So they were reaching out to the different platforms like Serenity Vet and our competitors to get additional coverage. And so they were managing this in 1, 2, sometimes 3, 4 different places. And so now we brought it all under one house so they can invite those vets they currently work with, simplify that, save a ton of time. The clinics we've worked with are so thankful on how much time and administrative duties that they save by inviting their vets onto our platform. But if they don't have enough coverage just with those vets, they can still find additional veterinarians from Serenity Vets Network.
Well, and that's, Andrew, where we partnered up with Galaxy, and that's how I became a full disclosure early angel investor, because that's really the problem that we anticipated. Well, we didn't anticipate it. We bumped into it. We thought we'll just test the platform for the full functionality and help to develop the features. But what we found was that it was extremely convenient just to use it for payment processing. That's the biggest pain in the butt that I felt, both actually as a relief veterinarian as well as the clinic. As a relief, I don't have a clear cycle of submitting bills and invoices. So once 2-3 months, I send the bills. But it's until I started running the clinics that I realized how much pain in the butt it is on the clinic side, because then you send an invoice 2 months later after the expenses were incurred, and it hits your P&L in a different month. So you can't really run the organization like that. So I'm really grateful to your idea, Andrew, to say, why don't we just make this an easy subscription for those services, just to manage schedule and the billing, and then the rest if you find us the new relief vet. But I wanted to ask Andrew, how is your first kind of take on the market? Do clinics or other networks, is it resonating with them, this type of model, rather than transactional, than only looking for new vets, not managing your?
Yeah, I think it's resonating with the market. We've certainly seen a shift in the veterinary marketplace. Appointments are down, revenue's down, COVID times are over. And while it kind of can seem like the sky is falling a little bit, I think it's really just we've reverted back to the norm of pre-COVID times, and it just feels so much different. So clinics are really looking to kind of reduce costs, save time. And that's why I think this is really resonating, because relief vets have become quite expensive, and using platforms really increases that cost. And so this helps them really do it in a much more affordable way and allow them to be really strategic in how they use relief veterinarians to not just cover gaps, but actually drive revenue and profit at their practice.
Yeah, and that's what we found. And I don't know if it's the same because I'm in the US. We have a small footprint, more so in Atlantic Canada, but we really suffered the last 12 months for revenue. Our summer never picked up. Last summer never picked up the way that it was expected, and we didn't actually have increase in summer revenue. So that's why this whole model, we have one clinic in Houston, and the whole model of just put the warm body and the revenue will be generated is not really working anymore. So we were looking for more tools that will help us to understand how much we can pay veterinarians. So are they actually generating revenue, and can we afford that? Can you talk a little bit about the tools that you guys deployed to help the clinics to be in more of a control?
Yeah, we have a couple of different tools that kind of all go together to help with that. The first and most straightforward is we have what's called a profitability calculator. And this is great for an individual clinic, but also for like consolidators or corporate owners of practices, where they just put in some basic financial information. And every time that they're posting or scheduling a shift with a relief veterinarian, they can see directly on that shift what they can afford to pay and still maintain whatever profit margin they need for their practice. So that's a really useful tool. And then we have a couple other tools that help them in deciding what to pay. The first is we display an average cost in the area. So that kind of gives them a benchmark to go off of so that they can be competitive. And then we have an AI predictability tool that takes a lot of different information into account to help them know how likely it is to get filled so that they can adjust it and make their shifts more competitive, because everybody wants their shifts filled, right? So the more competitive they can be, that tool can help them actually get a vet in there so that they're not left empty handed when the time actually comes.
So, Andrew, I guess an overall kind of an overarching question, like it makes a ton of sense, the tools that you guys are providing to the practitioners to kind of run their business and to get the insights into profitability. But one of the questions that I wanted to ask is, with the slowdown in veterinary medicine, does this mean that less relief vets are being placed compared to maybe a year ago or 2 years ago? I would think that the people that are making salary would be the first person to take the shifts. And, with the slowdown, it might be really affecting the relief vet shifts that are being scheduled in the platform.
Yeah, I think we've seen a huge change. The shifts have become much more competitive. It is a lot harder for relief veterinarians to find relief work really anywhere. There's still some markets where they're super competitive, but what we've seen in the market is there's a lot less turnover of full and part-time veterinarians at clinics. So people aren't leaving and quitting as much, which has a big impact on relief work, because a common time where a clinic will need relief is to cover that gap when one person has left and they're trying to find the next replacement. So we're not seeing that as much. The clinics aren't overflowing with appointment requests, so there's less adding shifts to address need within their clinic. So it's become much, much more competitive. And so as a relief veterinarian, you need to provide a lot more value to clinics to find work.
And I wanted to add to that, Sean. This is a great question. I mean, we're seeing with the revenue shrinking. I was at the Salt Lake City in a couple months ago, and we were talking with the industry. There was a vet forum, and it was the first time I've seen in decades now that the industry is really focusing on marketing initiatives. Because before it was okay, we have unlimited patients that are coming through the door, and it's really the improve workflow and use your tool to not write medical records and things like that. And then right now, it's really the whole conference was talking about marketing, how to bring in the clients. But then the other problem is when you bring in the clients, do the veterinarians not only do it fast enough, but also generate revenue? And that's what I've been struggling with managing the clinics in the last couple of years, because vets are all different. One vet is not the same to the other. And the metric that we use inside of Galaxy Vets, we're using average check transaction as the measure on every veterinarian. So essentially, it's not an arbitrary number. You need to bring more revenue. It's really what is the average revenue bring per client, because you can then take the number of clients and then divide your total revenue brought by the vet by the number of clients they've seen. Very good metric to measure them. What was able to do in Serenity Vet, they actually implemented this average check transaction. So once the vet finishes the appointment, then you put in the number of clients they've seen, the revenue they brought in, and then that generates an average check transaction and shows the veterinarian what is their ACT, which is abbreviation of that, And then when you book them later, whether they're from your network or from outside, you can actually see what's the average to a specific setting. It varies. It varies per emergency hospital. The ACT is higher, GP is lower, but you can see and compare the veterinarians in a particular setting. What is their average check transaction? So I think that was brilliant. Andrew, I really thank you for bringing that to fruition. That was very exciting. But the other thing is also what we found extremely motivating, and we did a webinar on this, and it was a controversial topic, but the production-based pay. And I think it works better in an urgent care setting as we operate. But Andrew, do you want to unpack a little bit how that works on Serenity?
Yeah, first I'll just kind of touch on the ACT real quick, or average check transaction. That was really in response to how competitive the market has become, and complaint from clinics and corporate entities that they were paying a lot of money for relief veterinarians, but they weren't necessarily bringing revenue for them. And so we created the average check transaction that basically tracks how much the relief veterinarians bring value per patient, not necessarily per shift, because it's not the relief veterinarian's fault if appointments aren't scheduled, but at least you can see like how productive they are per patient. And this, while it might seem like a negative for relief vets, I actually see it as a positive because it allows them to show how valuable they are and be more competitive for those high value shifts. So it really benefits both sides of the market. And then production based pay, like you said, a little bit controversial, but super beneficial in urgent care and ER. It's a way for clinics to basically offer more pay. So be able to pay relief veterinarians more, which is a benefit for them. They make more money if they get a super busy shift. Because we all know urgent care and ER can be pretty variable. You could show up, see one patient, bring in $500 of revenue, or you could see 15 patients and bring in $15,000 of revenue. And if you agree to just be paid $1,300 for that shift, you missed out on a lot of potential revenue. So with a production-based pay bonus, the way it works is you're guaranteed a base rate. And if you produce more for that clinic, you end up making more. So it could be 20, 25%, whatever it may be. And on the clinic side, there's less risk for them. If you make more for them, there's really no harm in them paying you more because you brought in a lot of revenue for them.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. It makes me think back a couple of years ago at Talk To, we did a large scale pilot with 100 plus veterinarians at the largest, one of the very, very large hospital networks. And out of those 100 people, we were doing their medical records. And it was really amazing. It was like less than 5% of people saw more patients. So I'm curious, Andrew, with that experience that I had, what do you guys see there? Do you see a lot of the veterinarians that are filling relief vet shifts? Are they producing higher levels because of that production based bonus? Or do those numbers that we've seen with a very low number of people actually doing more revenue track? Like, do those numbers make sense?
Yeah, I think it's proven motivating for the relief veterinarians. Ivan could share that at Galaxy Vets, they've been super successful in recruiting essentially anybody willing to work relief in their market in Atlantic Canada because they offer production based pay. And that way they're able to earn more if they end up with a busy shift. So we've heard from the relief vets that have used it that they actually love it. Now in a like GP setting, it's not as beneficial because it tends to be pretty straightforward in terms of how much revenue you're going to bring in. There's small variations, but in ER and urgent care, it can vary so widely. There's been a huge benefit for both sides.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The hospital chain that we were working with at the time was GPs, so it's interesting. Yeah, just kind of fascinating to think about the psyche of those relief veterinarians. Are they out there looking to figure out the way that they can contribute and provide the best care, or are they just showing up looking to be paid the shift, right?
Yeah, and that was the complaint we had, that there was a number of relief veterinarians that just kind of showed up and didn't necessarily want to do much work, would only do the minimum. Now, I personally think that's the exception. I think there's very few relief veterinarians that operate that way, but they do exist. But they have an outsized impact on the business, and so they tend to stand out and negatively skew clinics' opinions towards relief vets. So with the relief based pay structure, it helps motivate them, and they get to benefit by doing more for that clinic, and so it's beneficial to both sides.
Yeah, it's really neat. I mean, it seems like you guys are providing all of the tools with a simple, easy, affordable subscription to allow the clinic to kind of operate in whatever way makes sense for them, but make it easier for them to operate their business and to fill those shifts.
Yeah. It's all about saving time and helping them make more money.
Yeah, I guess the obvious question for me, Andrew, the last one that I've got is how much does the subscription cost if people wanted to start managing their existing kind of relief pets through you guys' platform?
Yeah, if any clinic is interested in trying it out, they can start with kind of a what we call a free trial, up to one in-network relief veterinarian for free. And then it scales based on the number of relief vets they have in their network. So up to 3 in their network is $2.99 a month.
Wow, super affordable, especially given all the insight and struggle that disappears with that subscription. Well, I think we've kind of already hit our time, Andrew. So we like to wrap up every episode the same way. So I got a couple quick questions for you. First one is a YouTube video, a TED Talk, a book, something that you found inspiring that you'd like to share with our audience.
Yeah, the book that kind of inspired me recently is called Do What Matters Most. And it just talks about kind of prioritizing around your values and what brings you joy instead of prioritizing around what's the most emergent thing. And so I think it's super practical in the relief vet space.
Okay, Andrew. And the question that we ask at the end of the show, is there another innovator that you would recommend to be on this podcast?
Yeah, I recommend having Dr. Jessica Lovegrove onto the podcast. She's the president of the Relief Veterinary Medical Association.
Thank you so much for listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast. If you want to hear about our new episodes, please follow us on any social media channel. Also, you can check out our website at veterinaryinnovationpodcast.com. See you next week.